welcome to Adrian Snary Unlearning, and I'm in the beautiful Sedona area, and very honoured to be joined by Anahata Ananda today. Hello, Anahata. How are you?
Hello, thank you. Hello, everybody.
We've been catching up over the last 2 or 3 days and have done some different work together, and for me it has been hugely profound, and you were gracious enough, and I just feel very honoured to be able to do this podcast with you today, so thank you very much.
My pleasure. Welcome to Sedona.
Yeah, it's certainly something about this place. I mean, most of the people who are going to be watching this are from Perth, and I've banged on about it ad nauseum, but there seems to be something very, very similar between Perth and Sedona. That's why I'd love to get you out to Perth one day. And
I say yes.
Yeah, other members of the Sedona crew here, which I've also been very fortunate to meet too. We thought we'd have a bit of a chat about, well, mainly for my personal benefit, I have to admit, but the breath work and the consciousness ability to raise our awareness through that sort of work. And perhaps if we start from there, we'll just see how the conversation goes.
Right.
What do you feel? But I'd like to really ask you a little bit about your experience with it first, and stuff from there, how you were drawn into it, and what guided you into that practice and that work.
I think it was pain and suffering.
Sure. As most things tend to, yeah.
I think that, this is a very passionate tool here that I really am devoted to, not only supporting people with breath work and what I call shamangelic breathing, because it is so powerful. And you had experienced a ceremony with me the other night. And what brought me to breathwork is my desire to help people, and in doing so, in my own exploration of a lot of different healing modalities for myself personally, I found it was one of the most profound and efficient ways to really deeply move out density. And there's been so many times in life where I was just fed up and angry and sad and not really sure exactly why. Sometimes there's things we don't know that just build up over time: frustration, oppression, rejection, sorrow, grief, anger. I mean, there's so many juicy things that just tend to get pushed into the basement because there isn't the right time, or there isn't the right place, or there isn't the right setting to kind of process trauma or anger or grief. And just human emotion. Everybody's gone through this. You don't need to have a horrific childhood to have to really feel that you need to clean house emotionally sometimes.
Sure. Yeah.
So when I first started experiencing breath work, it was to help me through some challenging times. And so much was released in such a short period of time and replaced with such a feeling of lightness and hope, and it kind of brought me back to center again, I think. And for me, the different breathwork experiences that I have had, sometimes it's, a lot of anger coming out. And other times I've been curled up in a ball just crying, and other times it has been very physical and visceral in my physical body, where I just felt achy and trapped and stagnant, kind of energetically and physically. And there is no right way, there's no wrong way, there's lots of different experiences, and every time I've done it, it's been a different experience. And so that's that's one of the reasons why I keep going back to it, is to ask, well, what else do you have, not only to release, but also to replace? What can I bring in? When you've released a lot of the density, then the next phase is to, what are you putting in its place? What are the dreams? What are the truths? Let's open up to this divine grace, to the cosmic field of possibilities, and start pulling down inspiration, dreams, and confidence, so that then there's forward movement into the direction of your authentic expression.
Sure, yeah.
Let's do this.
Yeah. And it's not to forget those past experiences, all those things that you've kept that have not served you, because you can learn from there's wisdom involved with that as well. So, but you don't have to hold on to it. I think that's the attachment to those things that we have a lot of the time, where we find a comfort in that pain or in that suffering, and we don't want to release it, or perhaps we do, but maybe subconsciously we don't. We find again that comfort with it, but when we're able to release it, when we're able to purge or whatever it may be, then there is that space and that room to be able to bring something novel in, and something, like you said, light as well.
Right.
And there's a new wisdom with that comes.
I think that there's familiarity with our story. And so, gosh, if I release that resentment about this parent or that love dynamic, or I didn't get my way, or this didn't happen the way I thought, or this breakup, that if I release that, then I release my identity of being the victim of that, or the orientation of the story, and then I'm left with having to write a new story.
Sure.
You know, and those big traumas that can happen from all kinds of different things, or just little things over time.
Yeah.
If we're going to reset, then that's the way to just being able to release those things that don't really serve you really
definitely.
anymore. Yeah. And I put something in its place. That's why I call that shamangelic. Is the shamanic experience is meant to go into the dark shadow. The shamanic experience is meant to take you to that place of where you're afraid to feel, and where you don't want to look, and where you're just avoiding or sedating. You know, we have so many ways in which to sedate and ignore and distract ourselves that are all socially acceptable and reinforced. You know, and to look at it, not to dwell in it, but to look at it, feel it, and then release it, then really does give us the opportunity to say, well, who am I outside of this story?
Yeah, sure.
And what am I going to do now?
Yeah, because we do love our stories, don't we? It's something that culturally is ingrained with us, and we don't, and again, culturally, we don't have any sort of systems in place like we did perhaps in archaic times, where we'd have rituals like every month or yearly, where we'd have the ability to be able to purge whatever it is going on. Instead, we keep it suppressed with half a bowl of red wine every night, or whatever it may be.
There's so many choices these days.
Yeah, so many
choices. There's lots of choices. We all have dabbled in different ones of those, and sometimes danced in an unhealthy dynamic with those.
Sure. And it's not to say that they're not okay. I mean, I love a glass of wine, and every now and again I love a good cigarette too with a beer, but it's how we use it and it's how we practice it. I think we've quite off skew as a society, but I feel that's changing as well.
Well, there's a time when we have a trauma that to sedate until we're ready to look at something.
Sure.
And sometimes that might be alcohol, that might be bud, that might be electronics, or whatever it is, playing small in unhealthy relationships, sex, working. Yeah. And, it has its place, because sometimes we just need to go numb and sedate until we're ready to look at something. Yeah. And so I kind of call that the dormant period, where it's just like, wow, this is too intense, or I'm not quite ready. I'm going to go underground with a little while for this.
I like that. That's a good point. Yeah, I've never really thought about it that way before. Yeah, that perhaps not everyone's always ready at people. We do need time. We need to be able to have that perhaps a buffer, I guess. Yeah,
and so that's our way, since we have will, of pushing the pause button.
Yeah,
and so this is where addictions happen. You know. And so now we're starting to look at, you say, like a glass of wine or something like that, whether or not it's a poison or not, depends on, do I actually need it right now?
Yeah.
And why am I going to this experience? And is the dosage right? Is my intention right?
Is the setting right?
Is the setting right? And so anything, whether it's a bowl of ice cream or a glass of wine, can become a medicine or a poison depending on how I'm orienting to it.
Sure, definitely.
And so the natives looked at a medicine as something that leaves you more whole. Okay. And so, 6 hours in Facebook may not leave you, or in electronics may not leave you more whole. It could if you're receiving inspiring content and connecting with friends in conscious ways, but it could also leave you sedated in a way that you're forgetting who you are.
Yeah, definitely.
And so I think the bigger question is, what are your medicines in life? And are you taking those things into your life and lifestyle that leave you more whole?
Right.
And those change over time.
Sure.
And maybe this dance with a particular substance isn't leaving me more whole, and maybe it did before, or maybe I was in denial, but now with that awareness, is this substance or this relationship or this orientation to work or this belief or this story, is it leaving me more whole?
Sure, definitely.
So I kind of like looking at it from that lens.
Yeah. And the breath, though, that's something that I really found quite interesting in the experience I had, that it is something that is truly available to us all and at all times. I mean, it's such a important, I mean, if we don't breathe, we die.
It's easy.
That's the bones and crux of it. But then if we go beyond that, even just for the basic need of a living human being to be able to consciously use our breath to be able to help shift and move things, it's a powerful tool. Really quite a powerful tool.
It is. And you know, breath is prana, it's life force, it's chi. You know, all these ancient cultures knew breathing. You know, all the yogis, and it's all over the Vedas and the ancient Hindu texts about breathing and different ways of breathing, having that be the portal and the access to the Amrita, the divine nectar. Yeah. Right? And so the yogis really had a lot of different breathing techniques for connecting to higher consciousness, for opening the channels of the pineal and the pituitary glands, the 6th and 7th chakras that are required to be open for higher consciousness. Sure. You know, and so the breath allows us to do that naturally. And it is also the bridge between heaven and earth. Yeah. It's that experience that can bring us into the present moment. It can bridge an unconscious thought to a conscious thought. Sure. It is from pain into bliss. You know, it is that bridge that can bring us back to center. Now, shamanic breathing has really more of a deep cleansing, as you experienced the other night, potential. And I assimilate it to like a broom cleaning out the basement. Because when we're doing kind of deep shamanic breathing, then we can go into those lower chakra energy centers of the body and clear out what doesn't belong anymore. And it will bring things up. Yeah. As it did for you. Yeah. And as it has for me and so many thousands of people that I facilitated breathwork, just thousands and more coming.
Definitely, yeah.
And so
and those bottom chakras are something that get neglected quite a lot. You know, we in a lot of spiritual practice, it's sort of always looking at the ethereal, like what's sort of from the heart and above, and I mean, definitely that's very, very important. But there's like perhaps a shame associated with dealing with anything below that, like dealing with the physical manifestation of who we are. Yeah. There's some sort of shame and like, okay, I sort of want to look at it, but I don't feel like I can or I'm not supposed to. And with the breath, there's no room for that. It just goes in there, and that's a perfect analogy, like a broom that just goes in and clears
into
it.
the corners of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing about, you know, being a spiritual being and being conscious is that means all chakras are awake, not just these upper ones. Sure. That just bridges to higher consciousness, but this is what gets in the way of that. Yeah. If I feel unworthy, unloved, unsupported, and unsafe, it doesn't matter if I'm feeling the angels, you know, and they're guiding me every day. I'm going to override any divine inspiration I get or any dream that Spirit gives me, because my lower chakras and the beliefs and the traumas down here will say, I'm not supported, so I can't manifest that dream. Or I'm unworthy to receive that wonderful relationship. Or I'm unlovable, I'll sabotage those gifts or those blessings that I do have. So the journey of consciousness is to look at both ends of the spectrum to say what is in the way of my light and also what enhances my light. Yeah. And that's where the study of the shadow comes in, to kind of understand those things that will inhibit expansion and our
creativity,
fullest potential, all of it. Love, passion, joy. And so then we're just kind of living in this kind of, I don't go into the lower chakras, but then I also don't get to feel my fullest potential. Sure, yeah. And so this, if we breathe down into these lower chakras and clear out density, then that'll automatically raise our bar for our potential, because we'll allow more truth in and allow more light in. Yeah. So that's why I call it shamangelic, is because the shaman is not afraid to look at the shadow and the dark side, you know, the fears, the insecurities, and the pain. But the angel is also there to do that with grace and ease and bring something in its place. Well, let's replace that unworthiness with, oh, I got this, and of course I'm worthy, and to feel that relationship to something greater that overrides that. But first we have to look at it, and first we have to remove it.
And I feel that's something you did very well in the session that I had with you. The healers that I most highly regard are the ones that don't just look at clearing things that need to be cleared, but also look at replacing it with something that's going to bring some sort of understanding, awareness into surface.
Yeah.
And I thought that what you did so amazingly well, and it was seamless is the word that keeps coming to me. When I was able to move through, mine was attachment, so I had attachment to nothing specifically, but then I was able to get through that after a lot of screaming and cathartic yelling. It felt fantastic.
Yeah.
Then you gave me the opportunity to really, okay, now let's look at bringing something in, let's bring something in new. And this lightness and this ability, which I recognize in any healer that I've spent time with, to me that's a well-rounded ability, is to be able to move through the shadow and bring in the light as well. Because I think sometimes people can forget that. Some people who call themselves healers will forget about that yin and yang, that balance of the shadow and the light, and perhaps just look at one or the other and say, oh, my job's done, off you go. And it can be quite difficult for the person, I feel, afterwards as well.
I think that's the alchemy of listening to what is needed in the space, because sometimes it will be some yin kind of fierce, fiery energy, and sometimes it will be the yang, yin, the female energy just being really graceful, and the yang, the fire. And I think that intuitive healers are working with an in-the-moment inspired alchemy to draw upon what would be appropriate in this situation.
Sure, rather than a set framework of, okay, this one fits all, yeah.
I just, the whole school, I run a whole school here in Sedona, because the masses are waking up and we need more people that are in integrity, that are passionate about doing their about helping others and doing that in a way that is in integrity. I'm really devoted to that myself personally, and that's why I opened up this school to kind of help people that have an affinity towards the healing arts, to help them in that way of intuiting that alchemy of fire and water and tenderness and courage. And that is absolutely tailored. It is not, okay, at 5 minutes in we do this and that, because everybody needs different things. If you've just lost a loved one, that's going to be a very different experience than if you are getting married.
Sure.
You know, and or just trying to figure out, I need to do a job change, is different than I'm recovering from this addiction thing. You know, and so I think it takes an incredible amount of intuition and willingness to be completely present with the upper chakras open, to hear, see, and feel. Like all of it has to be present to be able to sense what do you need. And then the willingness to allow that divine inspiration to move through unencumbered and pass through as a divine movement, being a hollow bone that allows that guidance and the inspiration from what you're asking for at a soul level, and that there isn't anything in the way of me delivering that.
Sure.
You know, so I can't have fear or doubt. You know, I can't say, oh, well, I can't be nurturing, I can't be gentle with this person, or I have to be strong, or I can't be strong. And I think that's where, you know, healers have to do their work too, and it's a constant, you know, it's a constant dance. To keep refining that, so that there isn't, in the healing arts, that there isn't anything in the way here that is keeping that from happening in the highest way for you. Yeah,
nice. You made a good point there about using these practices not only in times where we feel like we may have some suffering to look through, but also in times where life's going quite well. And because I feel like that's where often, you know, I know in the past when I haven't had I meditate, but like I'll go through periods where I'll stop meditating, and it's generally because I think, oh, life's pretty good at the moment.
Good. I don't need
to meditate, you know. And then things, you know, as life goes and flows, you know, I'll go through a bit of a down period, and I'll be like, okay, I've got to start meditating again. But it's not, I've come to really realize, and at 35 years of age, I should have probably realized it a lot earlier, that it's really important to have that throughout our life, no matter what the situation is, because in those times, there's a lot, when we're feeling good about ourselves and we're feeling good about the world, there's still a lot to learn and a tremendous amount to learn. And again, I feel like that's where the breath work can really help in times where, not just in suffering, but also in delight and love, to be able to really facilitate the ability to, like you said, get something to really flow through and then able to manifest out into the world, rather if it's in being successful with something, in relationships, business, whatever it may be, or just in general well-being as well.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that staying connected is what kind of keeps us from having these massive deviations off center.
Right. Yeah.
Do you know, it's like, oh yeah, check this out. And this is also when you're in that kind of daily routine of connecting with spirit in some way, whether it's I've got something to release, or then I'm just the student. What do you need to show me today? What could I learn today?
Yeah.
And or clarity about a particular thing, or inspiration for the next steps.
Sure.
So those are all valuable things. Help me heal, help me see, help me grow, and I think breath work and meditation and lots of different lifestyle tools can kind of help us with all aspects of that. And so this is definitely not just about purging in any way, but about, okay, well then what is the truth, and what are the next steps, and I did I like to just kind of sit in meditation sometimes with an ascended master or a guide, and say, okay, well, let's go to school today. If it's not about, oh, I've got to heal this thing or have clarity about this thing, but let me just be the student for the next 40 days. Let me sit with an ascended master, summon a guide, an angel, or someone that I want to train with or learn from.
That's something that I'd really, and perhaps not for this podcast, but chat to you about another time. Because I had my first experience of that last night when Anahata and I were both at a concert by Parangi. Got to excuse my Australian accent when I do this. And his delightful partner Ashley. But there was at one point in the it was a music medicine ceremony. But at one point, Ashley asked us to call in like a tribal of elders, and I was transported into some other space where I had like a tribal of elders sitting in a circle. One side was male, one side was female, and I was standing there just as part of the circle, but in the middle between them, and they were just looking at me, and I was like, oh wow, this space is quite incredible. I've got a lot to learn, but because it was the first time, but actually I didn't know how to navigate it. I was like, okay, and that lasted for about a minute. But yeah, I think that's something that it's something I definitely want to look at in the future, and be able to reach those states where I can really be with those ascended masters and learn and gain that wisdom.
Lots to learn there. Yeah, lots to learn, and questions to ask.
Sure.
I mean, you could just get one word.
Yeah.
You could just get one word: integrity.
Right.
And it's like, okay, how deep can I go with the medicine of that word?
Yeah.
Truth.
Sure.
Forgiveness. Right? And to just study that word. And a lot of times you're just going to get insights and pearls and perspectives that you wouldn't otherwise.
Right.
And then we're kind of breaking through the ceiling that says I know it all, and the humility that says maybe I don't.
Yeah.
Maybe there's an option today, even if I think I know it all, maybe I'll go to the pillow, in other words, to this place to sit and meditate and open and say, what do I need to hear today?
Sure.
I'm open to receive.
Yeah.
And that humility opens us up to this unlimited world of possibilities, because there might be an inspiration there might be an opportunity there might be perspective there, there might be insight or growth that can happen from that place, whether that's in meditation or whether that's sitting under a tree outside or by a creek that says, I'm open to receive a message today.
Yeah, definitely.
And the breathing too kind of helps us get out of the everyday go, and kind of drop back into the present moment and access that mystical field of possibilities.
Sure.
Also known as the quantum field.
Right.
And so, especially when we do a lot of breathing like that, it clears the mind. The breath is one of my favorite things about that is that it is the most efficient thing for clearing the brain.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and there's a lot of toxins, and there's a lot of thoughts, and there's a lot of chemicals, and there's a lot of beliefs up there, and just, you know, every day, just a little bit of that clears the brain.
Right.
And it's the most effective way to clean that organ,
Sure.
to detoxify it, because, you know, things get in there.
Yeah, definitely.
And so I like that as a way of just clearing my mind of things. Even if I think everything's fine, it also brings me back to being open to, well, then how could it be even better?
Right.
You know, or what's in the way of it being better?
Sure.
You know.
And it reminds me of something that I'm a huge Terence McKenna fan, a philosopher. You had that quote, you are an explorer and you represent our species, and it's I'm paraphrasing, but it's like we have it's almost like I wouldn't say like a need, but it's also almost like, or a necessity, but like perhaps a responsibility to be able to bring something back. Because especially in an age where we're living without a consciousness, we're sort of more fixated on the superfluous, the material. For those who want to look at creating a better life for not only themselves, but also the world around them, there is a stack of information out there in the quantum world, ethereal, whatever, the dream state, whatever you might want to call it, for us to access.
Absolutely.
And it's totally our ability to be able to do that. And we don't need any sort of entheogens. I mean, they are fantastic as well. We don't need any sort of pathogens. Again, going back to the breath, it's something that's really there for us 24/7.
Right. And just the fact that it's available, this information field, the Akashic record of all possibilities, and then your soul may have that divine blueprint that said, yeah, I came here to make a difference on the planet in this area, whether that's about the environment, or whether it's about children, or whether that's about healing or music, or whatever the soul's passion or dream is, that says, now I can access inspiration about how to make more conscious music, or notes, or different songs that are not here yet.
Sure.
So there's a lot of inspiration. This is where we download, this is where we have access to new paradigm solutions, because we're not going to find them inside the box of what is currently available.
Exactly right.
New paradigm means new.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That means that means this state of higher consciousness and being open to those realms allow us to start receiving that divine inspiration that is passionate to me.
Sure.
Because if I just access all of this and it's overwhelming, I don't know what to do. And so this is where opening that to say, show me what I came here for.
Yeah.
Show me what is my medicine, where I can leave the species more whole than I found it. Where can I be an instrument for change in such a way that makes a difference with my life, my snap, my little blip of a life here. You know, what will I do? Will my life be medicine?
Sure.
And so I think that's exciting, that possibility to do that. And what you said about the breathing being available, and it's free, you know, like just we can do that every day. So
yeah, and unfortunately we don't know. It's not something that we are really is taught or spoken about, or say, listen, okay, this is available to you. Like, I firmly believe that we should, like, children when they're at school or from a very young age, should be taught what I experienced with you a couple of nights ago, you know, practices of meditation, practices of breath work. I mean, imagine what we could create. I mean, it would be incredible. Right. But instead we're sort of, and I've been this way for a long time, I've always had a lot of trouble with my creativity. Like, I know it's there, but I've always had trouble just, you know, ego thing, or just insecurity about what I can create. But I really feel like if it's something that you want to look at expressing and getting out, that the breath, again, is just something that's such a valuable tool to be able to allow that.
Well, in that second chakra, because that's creativity sits in the second chakra.
Right.
And in the second chakra, that is where the emotions sit.
Yeah.
And this is where oppression, about, we were talking the other night about how emotions have been suppressed, well then that also means creativity, sexuality, all of those other emotions, that all of those other things that kind of sit in the second chakra, it kind of creates the whole chakra a little bit out of balance.
Right. Yeah.
And so if it's like, if I don't play, if I don't create, if I don't laugh, if I don't enjoy, then there's also going to be that coincided with my emotions are also suppressed in that.
Sure.
They kind of go hand in hand. And then here comes sexuality, right hand in hand with that as well. And so we wonder why we have so many challenges around sexuality and healthy sexual expression and conscious relationships. And I'm really passionate too about relationships and relating in consciousness in that dynamic. Right. And that powerful classroom that a relationship is, and all the relationships that we have, and that's another podcast.
But especially intimate relationships.
And especially intimate relationships. And so if I feel like I can't emote and I can't create, that is going to affect my ability to show up intimately with someone.
Right.
Because if I can't feel, and if I was told, especially as men, don't emote, don't feel, stuff it, then that is going to affect your be able to be vulnerable and to feel love for somebody. Yeah. And to feel sadness and not have to shut that down to put on this facade of that I don't cry sometimes, or that I don't feel sad sometimes, or that I don't get angry or confused sometimes. And so it kind of brings us to the place of not showing our natural self to our most intimate person that we're supposed to be able to be vulnerable with.
And there's a strength in there as well.
There's a strength in there, and this is where the classroom of relationships is powerful, and that goes back to, well, let me clear those things out so that I can have the confidence to dabble in something that maybe if it's been oppressed for a while, I'm gonna feel awkward and it's gonna be uncomfortable, and can I give myself permission to look like a doof?
Sure. Yeah.
And just laugh at myself that, here's me trying to dance or trying to draw, or and to have a laugh about it.
Definitely. And that's a great point about not taking all this too seriously as well. I think we do take it too seriously sometimes, especially on the shamanic path or the healing path, but life is here to have fun, and it's meant to be enjoyed. And like, I definitely know, just looking at my path over the last 3 or 4 years, like last night was amazing just to get up and dance.
Amazing.
Like I never would have done that 3 or 4 years ago. Like I would have been like, oh no, I would have felt too, But it's just such a liberating and such an amazing feeling to be able to express your being, your creativity through movement, whatever it might be, art, writing, it doesn't really matter, but it's there and it's definitely attainable. And I feel like it's only prevented by perhaps our experiences as we grow up and into adulthood that really camouflage it, rather than I think some people and I've felt for a long time, period of time, that I was born not creative. I was born, but I wasn't. Like I was born a fully expressed human being.
Absolutely.
It's just different circumstances have happened to me and to everyone that change that.
And some express through music, and some express through drawing, and some express through artwork or painting. And so there can be this, because I don't have that expression as much as that person does, then there's this insecurity based on comparison. Sure. And so that's that thing that happens that we do, that I guess I'm as good as that person because
very good point.
They're and if we look at nature, and it happens to be gorgeous springtime here in Sedona right now.
It is beautiful.
That there's different flowers of different shapes, and some blossomed a couple weeks ago and are on their way out, and others are blossoming and now, and some will blossom next month. Sure. And that doesn't mean that the rose is less than a flower, because it's like, they blossomed before me, or they this one has those colored petals and I don't. And so it's like, but I'm still a flower. Yeah. And it's
beautiful.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's just, and it went different times, different things. We're not all meant to be a masterful painter, but that doesn't mean we all can't paint. Sure. And to appreciate someone that, wow, that is their divine gift, and my divine gift is this thing. Yeah. And that doesn't mean that I can't pick up a paintbrush and goof off with it.
Yeah. Because that's definitely the one thing that probably holds us back the most, I would think, is comparison.
Absolutely.
If we've managed to get ourselves out of the way and we have a passion towards something, that's great. But then if we're still comparing ourselves to other people, then that's really ultimately stymieing our creativity.
Comparison, fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of ridicule, all of those things that in childhood it's like, oh, if you didn't do that right, you were ridiculed and kids made fun of you. And so start to kind of squash that. But creativity, remember, that's, if we're here to be awakened and enlight beings, then that means all the rainbow.
Right.
That means all of the chakra energy centers on. That it's not just I'm a provider, but it means that second chakra around creativity and playfulness and joy and healthy emotions and healthy expression of sexuality means that orange ray of light is on.
Sure.
And it can't be like, well, I don't dance and I don't do those things because it's stupid. Then that same person won't be able to access those natural states of joy.
Yeah, definitely. And
so they'll live within certain realms where these chakras are on and others are just off. And since I'm not very good with that, or I am not comfortable with it, or that was oppressed and it just doesn't get turned on. And so then we have someone that's just playing one note. And that's not music. It's not a full symphony of possibilities, and we all play different things at different times.
Yeah.
And the ideal is to get to this place where we can all play our own music uniquely. You may play a certain note differently or more often or more masterful than I, but that doesn't mean I can't try that note and be humble about it and have all my other notes making music with it.
Definitely. And also to be able to not be afraid of going sideways or backwards with it. There's a great Alan Watts talk where he's talking about that. Like we live on such a, like we have an understanding of like this linear or exponential progression. But, you know, if you're playing guitar, like you need, like life is best played like a fretboard on a guitar where there's sideways movement, backwards, forwards. That's the best way to play your song. And I think sometimes we can get too stuck in always having to have this constant progression. Or it's doing it in a certain way, exactly.
Out of the box again. You know, there's lots of different musicians that are playing playing it like playing the guitar like a drum,
right? And
kicking it with a heel, and doing all kinds of wonderful things. And this is where creative expression comes in, and so that we can have the new options, the new paradigms, the new songs, new education, like you're saying, new healing tools. And so I just think this is an exciting time.
Yeah.
I love it. I love being here in Sedona, and the people that are coming are now, the masses are waking up now.
Yeah.
I mean, truck drivers, ex-cons, Bible Belt, young, older, executives from big banks, billionaires, Olympic athletes, and I just think it's
Australians,
Aussies, even Aussies. And that's right. Lots of different cultures too are waking up. And I have clients from Japan and Mexico, and a woman came all the way from Taiwan to study with me, and India and Canada and Mexico City and Guatemala, and I'm just so grateful.
Yeah, sure.
That I get to do what I love to do.
Yeah.
In a place that I love to do it.
Yeah.
And with people that I love to hang out with.
You're a very fortunate woman, Anahata. Very fortunate.
And that's unchoosing.
Yeah.
People say, wow, you're lucky to have this life. And I go, well, I unchose.
Sure. Yeah, definitely.
I used to work in New York City, like 46th and 6th, corporate all all the way. Okay. Briefcase, suit, the whole deal.
Did you really? Yeah, right.
Really,
okay. Right.
And so you too can change.
Sure.
There's hope for you too.
May I ask what you were doing at that time?
I was a marketing director for Price Waterhouse.
Oh, really? Were you? Okay.
Like way back.
Wow.
And was fabulous at it, but it wasn't soulful.
Yeah.
I was successful and I was good at what I did. Mm-hmm. But it didn't nourish my soul.
Right.
So investing in human capital, being an advocate for human healing and human potential is a better use of my time, resources, creativity, and abilities.
Yeah.
And so it was this whole quantum shift that happened where I just kind of dove into learning all different types of healing modalities, and I just unchose a life that wasn't fitting any longer.
Right, yeah.
And so joy and bliss and thriving does not just happen.
Yeah, it's
And
a choice.
It's a choice, and you might hit it, luckily, here and there, but it's something that you keep looking at, because the formula is dynamic and it keeps changing, and if you're not staying on it, then it gets off balance. You know, I get off balance, and I forgot that thing, and I got to get back to my yoga, and you know, there's all these different things to kind of keep yourself on track.
Sure.
But there is a lot of what I call unchoosing, and then re-choosing with passion and joy. Well, where is my hell yes? Like, that's it. That's what I want. And energizing my lifestyle and my choices that bring more of that hell yes to me. And that I stay on it. You know? And when I don't, then I'll get off balance, and I'll get a course correction. I'll get a wake-up call, and I have a laugh. You know, and I have a laugh, because I'm human too, like everybody else, where it's like, oh shit, look at that.
Sure, definitely.
You know, and it's like, I know that, I teach that. You know, gosh, and here comes humility again.
Sure.
And it says, okay, I'm back to being a student.
Yeah.
I'm back to re-choosing. Unchoosing out of balance, and unchoosing, you know, maybe some lifestyle habits that got a little sideways, or maybe something's changing and I'm not paying attention to the signals. So
and it's important not to judge ourselves as well. I think at those times we can like beat ourselves up and like, what I was doing, but hey, it's life as well. Yeah, that's how it goes.
Yeah, I think that you know, there's these calibrations of different emotions that we can feel for ourselves and others, and guilt and shame is the lowest possible frequency. It calibrates at like 10 or 20, like way below, where consciousness and enlightenment is calibrating up here at 800 and 1,000 way up here. And so the choice to unchoose, to not beat oneself up, to unchoose that habit is very empowering.
Yeah, definitely. Most definitely, yeah.
Doesn't mean I'm not accountable for my choices.
Sure.
And that I don't have to clean up some messes that I make.
Yeah.
You know, but to not to add guilt and shame. It's like the life will already give me a lesson from the choice that I made.
Definitely.
That's enough.
Yeah, we don't have to attach to it as if it's definitely a part of us. We can choose. Again, I love that analogy, to be able to just not choose or
unchoose
and choose it.
Unchoose that. If it's not working, this dynamic, this relationship, this substance, this career, it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Unchoose and re-choose.
Nice.
You know, and if you're watching this, there's probably, just as there is with you and there is with me in this moment, things that I could be unchoosing and re-choosing something better that could bring my hell yes closer.
Yeah.
You know, and bring my vitality or my joy into more sustainable states and not just fleeting states.
Sure. Yeah. To get that balance, to get that true balance. Yeah.
Right?
Nice. Well, Anahata, how can people find you? And like, I'm sure I know you have a website, but can you perhaps tell the viewers a bit about your website and different modalities that you offer as well?
Come and play with me.
Come to Sedona, everybody. It's fantastic out here.
I'll get to Aussie. I'll get to
you
Australia
will,
for
definitely.
Sure. Yeah, I live and thrive and reside here in Sedona, Arizona, in the United States, and I just love it here. My website is shamangelichealing.com, and I run a full-time private practice to kind of help people through process, whether it's starting a new beginning or closing a chapter or healing from something in the past. Relationship dynamics, health crisis, kind of new life transitions, grieving, and also just fullest potential activation.
Sure.
So I run kind of a private practice for people to come and do private sessions or multiple day personalized retreats. And there's group retreats, and so some people come and enjoy that with other people. And then there's also a whole school that I run that is here to kind of help people with empowerment and awakening. So there's a weekend course, 3.5 days of empowerment and awakening courses. For those that are interested in healing tools and modalities, I have a whole training program to kind of help practitioners with different healing tools and modalities. I teach people how to facilitate breath work. And so, you know, who is going to be an amazing breathwork practitioner when he's ready to say yes. Okay, I'm calling him out
when I choose
right now. when you unchoose something else.
Yeah.
So yeah, if that is a modality that's really calling you, then come out and explore that with me.
Nice.
And there's shamanic teachings. I'm really passionate about using the land as a classroom.
The best, isn't it?
Right. So yeah, definitely there's multiple courses and experiences out on the land here, which is a powerful shamaness, this land and the elements and the animal spirits. And there's a lot of stuff online for those of you that can't come in and meet me here in Sedona anytime soon. Then I have lots of courses online, which can be found on shamangelichealing.com, and exploration of conscious relationships and chakras and meditation tools and all kinds of things, and more coming. So that way it was just part of my calling that said, hey, not everyone can make it to Sedona, so it's time to start using the internet channels to reach more angels that are, you know, hungry for this kind of information. So.
Sure. With this amazing network we have around the world now. And also quite a lot of people watching this from Perth, especially in Australia, do travel to South America, and you do work in the Sacred Valley as well. Can you perhaps just talk a little bit about that?
Yes, thank you for that. One of my passionate places to bring people is to Peru, to the Sacred Valley of Peru. There's deep medicine there. And we go through each day a different site and exploring a different chakra to clear that chakra. So we go to the water temples for the second chakra, and then there's these beautiful, beautiful temples. There's a heart temple, so we focus on the heart one day. And so that will go for the next one is June 2017. We'll go for the solstice.
Right.
And
nice.
that is so powerful. And each day we're working on clearing and anchoring a different chakra, and we land at Machu Picchu on the solstice. Or sometimes we go during the equinox so that we can be preparing our bodies to be completely clear to plant our intentions into the soil right there at Machu Picchu on the sunrise. It's epic.
Stunning.
So we go and have beautiful ceremony with ancient, with beautiful shamans there in the Sacred Valley, and that is a lot of fun. I love that.
Yeah.
So if you're called to that, I take a super small group so that I can go really deep.
Right.
And if you're called to that, check the website.
Yeah, nice.
And come and play with me. Come and learn and grow and thrive and explore with me. Share with me, heal with me, awaken with me. And I want to thank Adrian for his beautiful devotion to his path and bringing light and new ideas and possibilities to people that are ready to receive it like yourself. So this is what it looks like to step out of, to unchoose. Wait, I don't have anything to say. You absolutely, everyone has something to say. Everyone has something to share.
We all have a gift.
We all have gifts. Yeah. And here's an example of someone doing that and sharing it with you. So thank you for what you're doing.
Oh, thank you. Very humbling. Thank you. And I just really want to thank you for your integrity and your authenticity, especially. Like, I just feel nothing but authenticity from you, and I thrive on it. And anyone listening to this who's thought about coming out to Sedona or wants to come out or is booked to come out to Sedona, I really can't, recommend catching up with Anahata enough. Like, you're just amazing, and what we've been able to do in a short time together has definitely been left an indelible link on my path, and I'll be forever grateful for it. So I just know this is just going to be the beginning of something quite powerful between you and I. And again, like we spoke about before the podcast, perhaps even something between Perth, Sedona, Australia, America,
I'm coming
to
Australia to see you.
Yeah,
okay,
please
so
do.
That's a yes. You heard it here. And we'll just find the perfect time.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to go deep in this life.
Yep.
To keep stretching myself and just keep being the wind under others' wings and allowing others to help me to keep growing and expanding too. Because we're in this together, and that's what really excites me too. Is this is a fabulous time. This is the best time ever to be on this planet. There's more opportunities, more support, more information, more truth, more light than ever before. And other people might be saying it's more darkness, and it's like, actually it's where you focus your attention, because there's more. The Dalai Lama's on tour, for heaven's sakes. He's on the YouTube, right? We have more access to more support
Yep.
and truth than ever before, and the freedom to share it.
Sure. That's been the big thing, to share our experiences, to share our knowledge.
That was not always the case.
No.
And so in gratitude for all of those before us that have paved the way so that we could have the freedoms that we have today. This is the golden age. And so step up, you. Step up.
Make
bring
the
your
most of it.
magic. Bring your gifts. And I can't wait to be on the receiving end of what you have to offer.
Nice. Thank you very much, my dear.
Blessings.
Been brilliant. Wow. And everyone, if you're interested, I'm going to put some links down right below for Anahata's website and other different bits of information. And have a look and see what you think. Any questions, of course, let me know, or contact Anahata as well.
Yeah,
and,
follow me, find me, and we'll post this, and excited to keep sharing it. So share it with others that you think might enjoy it as well.
Yeah, please do. Mm-hmm. Again, thank you very much, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
That was brilliant.
Oh, yay,
thank you.
honey. Sweet. Good.
How do you feel?
So good. Alive.
It's an amazing state you can get into, isn't it, through conversation?
It's true. I mean, it's and when there is a witnesser, then it's just then it's like even more expanded, because you know it's not just this audience.
Exactly. It's more than just us. It's something else as well. Yeah, definitely.
And it'll keep having a life long after this day.
Yeah.
So you've just given a gift that will be timeless there in the libraries of possibilities for people.
Well, I can only hope. I mean, in the same way as what you did with Aubrey, and that's what brought me here, and I'm sure many other people into your life. I mean, I hope this can happen as well for other people, and I'm sure it will. Yeah. Thank you so much, my dear.
Yes.